Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back with Lisa Burgaw. She, of course, is the owner of Zen and Now Wellness Studio. Excited to have her back here on the show. And again, that Zen and Now Wellness Studio. She's from Connecticut. So the website, keep in mind, it's zenandnowct.com. How are you doing today?
I'm so good, Jill. How are you?
I'm doing great. You have a big bio. Would you mind sharing with us? Because you do a
Sure.
lot, right? So from a
Right.
pharmacist to your holistic background to owning the studio. So
Yeah.
let me have you introduce yourself to our listeners today, if you
I
don't mind.
yeah, sure. Not at all. Yeah, I started my professional career as a pharmacist, and so I've always been interested in health and wellness. I've exercised my whole life, but I stopped and didn't take care of myself for a little while I was, getting my career launched and raising my children and taking care of everybody except myself.
Yep.
And so, and I ended up with, some pretty serious neuromuscular injuries and repetitive strain injuries. So I was guided to yoga and it's like changed my life. So it's literally changed my physical structure and helped me to become pain free again. But there's just so much more to it as well. I became more calm and more forgiving and more compassionate and a better friend, a better wife, a better mother, a better daughter, a better sister. So there's just so much to it. So today, and again, I'm a pharmacist. I do have the Western philosophy and training. I love anatomy. I think our bodies are just magical beings. They're just amazing machines, and it's important we take care of them. And so my Eastern studies have also helped me to find a more holistic approach to taking care of myself and taking care of everybody else that I'm able to.
Beautiful. And I know for today, you want to talk a little bit about movement and how that's really medicine, not just for the body, but for the mind, body, and soul. Would you mind elaborating on that?
Absolutely. Oh, yes. Movement is so important. So movement is just so important for, right, body, mind, and soul. We're going to make our bodies move a little freer. You wake up in the morning, you're a little sticky, but you move a little and
Yep, of
it
course.
loosens up. And if you don't, say you take a couple days off, you get stickier and stickier. Say you take a few months off, a few years off, then you get really sticky and it gets really hard to move. So that's why it's important to stay on top of that. But also the benefits of movement on our mood. We can elevate our mood just by just changing our state, like standing up, lifting your heart up a little, leaning back a little bit, taking more of a power pose. You can change your state in a second. If you're feeling a little tired, you can just kind of
Yeah.
shake it off, move your body, and you'll get a little more energy. So it's really important that we do take care of our body. I love this story by Warren Buffett. He says this a lot. He has it in some of his books and different teachings he's done. And he says, imagine if you were given the car of your choice, like any car you wanted, and you could have it today. But the caveat is you can only have one car for your whole life. How would you take care of that car? You would read that manual like 4 or 5 times. You'd make sure you knew how
Every
everything
oil
worked.
change, everything. No,
Absolutely.
no eating in the car, children, shoes, no dirt
Right?
in the car. Yes. No sand from the beach. Oh yeah. Oh
No,
yeah.
you keep it clean. You'd keep it. If there was a spot of rust, you'd get that fixed immediately before it spread. You would totally take care of that car. And he says the same thing about our body and mind. And so, think about that. We do have this one body, this one mind. That's all we get. I have my friend gave me a little a necklace with a pendant that says, "Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live."
It's
So
so
it's just
true.
a good reminder that we need to take care of ourselves, and it takes some effort. It does take some effort.
And I call that self-care. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, we all neglect ourselves sometimes, but we can. It's a great way to look at it, though, with the car situation. You're right, because you would really, really take care of it. And we do things as teenagers. I tried a cigarette. I've never even tried marijuana, but I've tried a cig. Whoa, my God, I drink alcohol. Oh my God, that's really hurting my body, right? But then they say there's
Right.
studies that it's good for you. So I don't know about that. If you live in Italy, you drink wine, even like as a child. So I don't know,
Yeah.
but
They
you're
call
right.
that the French paradox. They eat a lot of creamy foods and cheeses and they drink wine, but they have less cardiovascular issues than we do. But there's differences, differences in culture, differences in how food is raised or grown. Yeah, so that's a whole big thing. How we nurture ourselves, what we put in our mouths and our ears and our eyes is important, right? What we expose ourselves to
Yeah.
just in general, the electromagnetic waves from our phones, from our devices. taking a break from that is really helpful as well. Yeah. Yeah. Moving our body again, though, it doesn't have to be, I say movement instead of exercise. And I like to say activity when I do meet with clients one-on-one. I like to talk
Mm-hmm.
about activity instead of exercise. Being more active doesn't mean you have to go run a marathon. It
Yeah.
might mean that during a commercial break, you walk around your couch or you don't walk to the refrigerator. You walk around and you march in place, or you do some jumping jacks, or you dance in your kitchen or in your living room, have a little dance party. But it should be something that's enjoyable and that you're more likely to stick with, something sustainable, and start small and then start to progress and build on that progression. And then give yourself a lot of grace when you skip a day or you miss a few days. Just let it go, start over again. Don't wallow on what happened in the past or what you didn't do, and focus on what you are doing and the strides that you are making, focusing on the positives.
Yeah, it's so true. And movement in general, it's so funny because I spent 2014 to 2021 not working out. I got pregnant, didn't have time. And ironically, I start going to there's a local gym, right? I just walking on the treadmill. I'm not a big exerciser. And then I'm walking, I'm feeling good. 2 weeks go by, and then I fracture my hip.
Oh,
I'm like, am I really that weak? But yeah, I started running. I don't really run. And then I got a little chip and whatever. And I'm like, come on. I'm like, movement. I'm supposed to be moving. But can I tell you, that's whatever happens. But I felt so good for those few weeks. I got back in the grind. And again, it's nothing heavy. It's nothing, even a simple walk in the morning. And right now, the fall here, you're in Connecticut, you're in the Northeast. It feels so good. Just
yes.
getting out for a little bike ride or a little walk does so much. And it's not about burning calories. It's what it does to the mind, right?
Exactly. And getting in nature. And even if you are in a city, finding like a green space, like there's lots of parks, and they're there intentionally because it's important for us to connect with nature. So getting out in nature, preferably if you can get barefoot and get your feet in the grass.
Yes, grounding,
Oh
right?
my
They call
gosh,
that grounding.
grounding.
Hmm.
Yes, yes. There's different, I mean, there's energy. We're literally absorbing energy from our environment around us. We are, electromagnetic creatures. They actually can study that. The electromagnetic waves from our different organs can be measured. Guess which one has the biggest electromagnetic field?
I don't know. What?
So a lot of people think it's the brain, right? Because the brain seems like it's like an electrical thing.
Yeah.
It's the heart. So your heart can be measured. The electromagnetic waves of your heart can be measured 6 to 8 to 10 feet around you. So, when you go
Wow.
into a room and someone's been in a fight and it just feels like, oh, it's so toxic, right? But you're around someone who's got a high vibe, who's really, like enthusiastic or excited or loving,
Happy.
and
Hmm.
it just feels so much bigger. So, how we treat ourselves and how we feel inside is going to affect the people around us as well.
Absolutely. Wow,
Yeah.
you're right about that. Isn't that weird? People don't believe in energy sometimes, and it's like you walk into a room, you could tell the mood of someone, or you go into an elevator when you're close with someone, you could feel them. And maybe some
Yeah.
people don't know how to feel, but everyone could feel. It's a matter of tuning into it, right?
Yeah.
Because
Opening up to it.
you can get a sense of what's happening right away. It's like,
Absolutely.
is it telepathy? What is the word?
Well, I mean, in more modern science, it's physically being measured. There's machines that can measure it, which I think is really cool. And people have known, we've talked about it for thousands of years as a, you know, as human beings, they've been talking about it in other cultures. But now with our modern science, and this is again where I love it, where the East West overlap and enforce each other or like support each other.
Hmm.
And it really is, it's a thing and it's true. And you can physically feel it. It's palpable. Like if you were to rub your
Yeah.
hands together and create some heat, and just keep rubbing your hands together, create that heat,
Wow.
and do it like till you
I have
feel
an itch,
some,
but yeah.
like a little charge, right? You're gonna feel a little heat, and then stop and gently pull your hands away from each other. And you feel there's like pressure, and then
Oh,
pouring it back in, and
you
then bring it back
feel it.
out. That's your energy, right? It is a real thing. I mean, we have ions. When you go to the beach, when you go to the beach and you feel so relaxed, you feel much calmer. Every time the waves hit the shore, it releases some negative ions that make us feel better. Those pink Himalayan salt lamps do the same thing. So they can
Hmm.
help clear the energy around us. That helps to counter the other things in our world, like our devices, our phones, the other things that we use. And I'm not saying not to use them, but to try to find some time away from them and to just clear your own energy. It might be walking in nature. It might be, again, dancing in your kitchen, dancing in your bathroom. I recommend dancing. I think it's really good. Every culture, almost every culture has some sort of celebration where they dance. There's a beautiful book called The Joy of Movement by Kelly McGonigal. And she talks about how when we move and breathe in synchrony, like when you're even at a club, right? Or if you're, doesn't have to be a formal religious ceremony where you're dancing, but in other cultures where they'll have these ceremonies where they're dancing together, but it's like one organism breathing together, moving together, and you form that connection and you do feel better. Your body moves, so you're healthy, you're making your body more healthy, and then you're also helping your mood
Oh,
and
wow.
your feeling of being connected and belonging. And we all need that
It's so true.
so much.
We really, really do. And, for people out there listening, just tuning in, let's remind them who we're talking to, where we're at, please. Lisa, give us your website.
I'm Lisa Braga, and I am the owner of Zen and Now Wellness Studio in Niantic, Connecticut. We offer yoga and fitness classes, as well as cycling, some mindfulness classes, meditations, and kind of a holistic approach to just wellness in general, fitness, wellness, body, mind, and spirit.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
could you talk a little bit about some of the other services quickly that you provide? We can go back to movement, but
Yeah,
just like this halfway point, because people switching dials and stuff, just to remind them.
sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Not
you. Yeah.
digressing from the topic, but it's
I love it. No,
important.
I appreciate it so much. Yeah, I'm also a master Reiki practitioner, and so I provide Reiki services, and they can be done virtually as well, which it's sometimes even more powerful, I find, to do it virtually. You're in the comfort of your own space where you have your own energy, and then we would Zoom. I also do some wellness coaching and health and wellness coaching, as well as medication therapy management, medication checkups.
Awesome. Thank you
Yeah,
for sharing that, Zen
thank
and
you.
Now.
Thank
And
you.
also, as far as movement, explain, but what are some people out there who can't move as much? Maybe they're a little older, maybe there's
Mhm.
ailments, there's chronic pain, what would you say to them?
Actually, movement can help with chronic pain. It can help with, you can move even if you're bedridden, you can move your hands a little bit. I read this blog years and years and years ago before I was a yoga teacher that said, we wake up in the morning and we tend to just jump out of bed and pound on our feet. And we don't take, we're not grateful for them. We don't take care of them. So they suggested for 30 seconds, just 30 seconds before you get out of bed, move your fingers, rotate your wrists, wiggle your toes, point and flex your feet, rotate your ankles around. You'll hear all these cracks and crunches as your body's kind of just waking up, and then get out of bed, and your body will treat you so much better because you took a little time for it. So I
Yeah.
do recommend just gentle movement, especially at first. And it's a progression. I really think that we need to let go of this sense of perfection, especially when we've taken a break. Like you had said that you took a break from exercise and then you come back and you want to be, most of us want to be right where we left off. And yeah, right? Right?
But I'm walking, but I'm like, I felt like I'm walking fast. Oh, I could run. I'm not a runner. I hate running. I feel like it's bad for my knees. I don't know how people run, but then I'm like, yeah, I got this. I was bringing my 3-year-old like to the gym, and 4-year-old, I guess, with me. Like he's sitting there, I'm like, yeah. Also, I'm like, oh. I'm
Oh,
like 40. I must have been 42. I'm like, oh, what happened? I'm like, ow. I go get it like an MRI and X-ray. X-ray, I guess they saw it, and I'm like, oh.
oh.
But the truth is, even if you're sitting down, right? Like, if you're not as mobile as most people, there's
Mhm.
movement of your arms, there's movement of,
Absolutely.
there's little things.
Yeah.
I could sit here right now. I'm twiddling my feet as I'm talking to you. I'm
Yeah.
moving. And I got this energy in
Moving
me
your
today because you're talking about
feet.
movement. So don't mind me, but I'm like fidgeting because I'm like moving. I'm moving.
It feels good. It does feel in our culture, we tend to sit a lot, and we tend to roll forward. We're
Yeah.
driving our cars or we're sitting at our desk, over our computer or typing on our phones or whatever. Um, and then just even sitting, rolling your shoulders back and pulling your shoulder blades together and lifting your chin a little, opening up your chest. It changes, literally, that changes your vibe in just seconds.
It
Just that
does.
that little shift. There's chair yoga. I've
Yeah.
done breathing exercises and movement with people who are bedridden. Um,
Hmm.
so chair yoga is really great. I taught at a senior center, and I think the youngest person in the room was 85.
God
And
bless.
many of them were in wheelchairs and kind of slumping and falling out of their chair, sliding out, and they had to be belted into the seat. So if we can just strengthen our core a little bit, we can stand up taller, even if we're if we are in a wheelchair, we can stand up just a little bit taller so we don't slump out, and we can, hold ourselves up a little bit easier. And maybe you may be able to do more. Again, it's again about progression, not perfection.
True.
Again, we stop for a while and we want to get back to where we left off, and we say, "Oh, I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to do that," and they're discouraged because they can't do that now, but they can do things. And I really think that it's important to focus on all you can do and thank your body for all that it does do, and then move from there and then progress. Then you add a little more, you add a little more. And sometimes you do the cha-cha, you might back up a little bit, be like, yeah, I got to take it back a little. And then you go forward a little more. And, eventually you're still moving. You're just,
Mhm.
you might have to go backwards a little
I love
before
it.
you can really go forward. Yeah.
The cha-cha. Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Cha-cha.
Wonderful. And now at your studio, what types of classes do you offer? I mean, besides the yoga. So I mean, you mentioned yoga, and what
Yep.
else do you offer?
We offer all kinds of different fitness classes. We offer cycling classes. Cycling is really
Cycling. Okay.
great. Yeah, indoor cycling is really great because it's great cardiovascular exercise. It's your ride. You're in charge of adding the tension or taking the tension off. And I don't even know if people really are adding tension or not, unless like I see them bouncing around. Like you can just slow down. I don't know it, but you're only shorting yourself if you do that. But it's really great because it's high intensity but low impact. So you're not putting any impact on your knees. A lot of people come to cycling, indoor cycling, because they're either recovering from knee surgery, or they had a knee injury, or they're just trying to save their knees so that they can keep doing other things like running or other activities that they are training for. So it's really great cross conditioning. I love it too because it strengthens your cardiovascular system so much. I don't run a lot now, but I used to do triathlons, and my cycling helped me with my uphill running, because my uphill running, I'd be gasping for air, and it's taught me how to like control my breathing and then shorten my recovery time. So like I can run, get my heart rate up, my breath's like, oh my God, I can't breathe, but I could get it back quicker. It's still recovery, but it takes less time now because I've been more conditioned. And then we have all kinds of fitness classes that really focus on core strength, mobility. Balance is something we lose a little bit every day. And so it's really important that we practice balancing. Strengthening our core is going to help us with that. Again, like sitting up in a wheelchair, when you have a stronger core, you can sit up a little taller, even if you are, in a wheelchair. If you don't have that core strength, I had a patient in one of my fall prevention programs I was working on years ago who he broke his hip putting toast in the toaster because he just
Oh,
had that little lean and he couldn't
oh,
catch his balance and fell. I mean, it doesn't take much if we let ourselves go to injure ourselves later. So it's worth taking the time. I really, again, though, encourage people to do things that are enjoyable, that are realistic, set realistic goals. Like don't say, I'm going to run 5 miles every day for 7 days. Say, I'm going to start by walking tomorrow for 10 minutes and then build it up. Set these successful, like smart goals that are, you can make them happen. They're specific. That's what SMART is: specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, realistic, and then time bound. So you say, I'm going to do this many times next week, or this day for this long, or whatever. Be very specific about it. But my thing that I like to add on to that when you're setting those goals is to rank it, like out of a scale of 1 to 10. How sure are you that you're going to do that? And if you can't say an 8 or higher, change it. Set yourself up for success.
got it. And you know what? We have to do that because
Yeah.
you lose yourself. And I don't know, something about the fall. I feel more energy now than I do in the spring. I just
Yeah.
love this feeling, and I feel like it's rejuvenation. Our energy is kind of calming, and animals go into hibernation. But I don't know, there's something like inspiring about this. I always said, like, if I ever got married, it'd be the fall. It's my favorite season. Like, I just feel like I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like I could do more now. And I feel so good today. And thank you. Thank you for reminding
So
me
glad.
about the importance of movement, the importance that we're here, we're alive, we're having a conversation. It's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Um and let me ask you, have some of the classes now, are they're online as well?
Yeah, most of our classes, except for
So
cycle, are virtual. So you can Zoom in or you can come into the studio if you're in the area. We live in a really beautiful area. We're in Niantic, Connecticut, southeastern Connecticut, right by the beach. And there's a couple casinos nearby with great shows. And restaurants. If you're not into gambling, there's lots of other things, shopping. So if you're in Southeastern Connecticut ever, there's lots to do here. Come visit. I'd love to see you. We're in Midway Plaza, 170 Flanders Road, Niantic. And
Oh,
but you can go on our website at zenandnowct.com and see our schedule. Most of our classes are also available online, so you can zoom in. And we have people zoom in from all over the place. It's really
that
fun.
is so cool. And
Yeah.
is it just live or you have classes that are pre-taped in a sense that you could log into, right?
Yeah, I'm working on the on-demand library. So right
That's
now
it. That's what it's called.
they're
Sorry.
all, yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah, no, it's something I'm working on. But right now they're live. Mostly they're live. I do have on our YouTube channel, which is Zen and Now Wellness Studio. I do have a few classes that are available to the public for free. So there's a few full-length classes, and then there's some breathing exercises and some other meditations and stuff. So you can, you know, tap into any of those resources
That is so,
for
so
free.
cool. And hold on, just give me an idea of where you are located for those listening from New York. How close are you in Connecticut? Um,
We're exactly in the middle between Boston and New York. So we're like the perfect spot. Or right along 95. So if you come from New York and you're going up towards Rhode Island, we're about half an hour from the Rhode Island border. Not too
Beautiful.
bad.
You must have,
Not too bad.
do you have all the beautiful fall foliage right now because you're a
It's
little
starting to
cooler?
change. It's starting to change. The water's still warm, so we get it a little later.
Ah, I love
Time
it.
of
I love
night.
it. I didn't realize that. I thought you would get it a little quicker, but you're right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So again, zenandnowct.com, that's the website here.
Yeah.
And you're passionate about empowering others to feel better, live
Yeah.
happier, live healthier lives. And, let me ask you just one question because, we were a little bit down the past few years with COVID.
Yeah.
How do you think the fall's going? Are you gonna, I mean, you're in the medicine business,
Yeah.
right? Just,
Yeah. Yeah.
do you think we're going to be affected like that again?
I think it's here to stay. I mean, I think that's why they're saying the pandemic is over because it's now endemic. It's here to stay. And I think we just need to be careful, be cautious,
Okay.
and take care of yourself. But that's a really interesting thing. And thank you for segueing into that because movement helps boost your immune system.
Beautiful.
Yeah, when you have a higher vibe. The CDC did a study not too long ago, and I don't know the exact percentages, but they were saying like the increased risk for mortality from COVID and from getting it more severely. First is obesity, and second is fear and anxiety,
Ooh,
which is interesting, right? And when we're
yes.
moving our bodies and we're interacting with, especially in a community, when you're walking with a friend or when you're exercising in a group, you have this sense of cohesiveness, of belonging. So it's not just the physical benefits, but you're improving your body, you're improving your mental status, you're raising your vibe, and you're boosting your immune system. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. And I do feel like for me and for the people that have been at the studio all through COVID, because we've been open in person as much as we could be as when we were first allowed to reopen, but we were open on Zoom prior to that so that people could still move their bodies and at least, have a better chance of not getting ill.
Got it. I know we
Yeah,
talked a little bit about, was it the deep belly breathing last time?
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So you did
yeah,
a whole YouTube thing on that, I saw.
yeah, yeah.
That's important. Any other information you want to share with us today? What else should we be doing?
Yeah,
Obviously.
I mean when we move our bodies, it helps us to control our weight and that helps pressure on our joints and a healthy weight. I don't encourage people to get on the scale because it's not a realistic thing to go by because you don't know how much of that is bone weight, is muscle weight. So and if you're up and down 5 pounds in a day, it's not five
Yeah.
pounds of fat. You didn't gain 5 pounds of fat in one day. You gained water or you lost water, right?
So
So
true.
yeah, so I think, and I don't ever personally, I don't get on a scale. I go by how my clothes fit. And when I feel really good, I feel really toned, really fit, and my clothes feel a little looser, I get on this scale and it's always higher because my muscle density is up. But when you're exercising, you're reducing your risk for any cardiovascular illness. You're making your cardiovascular system stronger. You're making your lungs stronger. So it can help with like asthma symptoms. It can help with blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, depression, anxiety. It can help reduce your risk for cancers. And when you're exercising more, you tend to stay more regular with your bowels as well because your core is a little more toned, so it pulls the organs in so that they have a little more support. And it can also help with bladder function. As we age, especially mothers, often have trouble with bladder function. And that's something that as we get older, people think, oh, I'm just older and that's normal. And it's really not. We can control it. We can strengthen the pelvic floor muscles to improve our bladder function. So we can keep going out. A lot of people get embarrassed when they start having bladder dysfunction and then they stop going out or they stop exercising, but you can absolutely.
You're talking to someone who, okay, ready? Never knew this existed. I had my first child 30, I don't know if I was 37, 8. All of a sudden, I come home from the hospital. I'm like, what's happening? No one talked to me about bladder, uterus, prolapse, cervix prolapse. I'm like, what is going on? And then I had to go to the doctor, do the exercises and do that stimulation thing. And I'm like, oh my God, but I'm 37. No, the one thing no one told me about pregnancy and having a baby is that you could like lose everything. I'm like, so then I had another baby, same thing happened. And they said, eventually you need a surgery to pull it all up. I get it. But yeah, that incontinence, like you laugh, you pee, it happens. And as a woman, I never knew this until like 7 years ago. I was shocked that this could happen. I thought it was for like my grandma, no, women 30s, 40s, it happens to us. Don't be embarrassed about it. But there are exercises you could do, and I didn't know, and it worked. So I'm here. I'm fine.
It does. When I was working full time as a pharmacist, I was working like 15 hours a day, and there'd be a line of people.
Standing on your feet.
Cross them. Yeah, but I couldn't cross this line of people to go to the bathroom because they'd be like, "Where are you going? I want my medicine." So I would hold it for all 15 hours, and it was horrible. I had to retrain. Like my bladder was so big, I had to have it. Like I had to shrink it by bladder training. So yeah, that is something you can do. Yoga poses and any core work is going to help strengthen those pelvic floor muscles. And that's going to in turn help everything else just come in a little bit more. So that I think is something that women do like to know, that there is a potential for that to not be an issue, where you can still run or do jumping jacks and you'll be okay. Go to the bathroom before you start class. That helps too.
Yes. All right. We still have 2 minutes left, Lisa. What else do we want to share about Zen and Now, your wellness studio?
Oh yeah. Check us out. We're on social media. We have
just followed you on Instagram, by the way.
Oh, good. Thanks. Yeah. Yep. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we have a YouTube channel too that is starting to have more and more information. Some of the information on our YouTube channel is unlisted, which means if you subscribe to our newsletter, you'll get access to it. Or if you make an account on our software system, our scheduling software, then you get access to all of those too, because those recordings are all in our app. So I just want people to just feel like motivated and empowered and just do what feels good for you. Move your body every day and just set no parameters around, like I move my body every day, and try that and see how you feel.
All right. Thank you. If we want to reach out to you, Zen, and tell us the website.
Yeah. zenandnowct.com. And you can email me, lisa@zenandnowct.com, or call us at 860-739-2625.
All right. Follow me back on Instagram.
I will.
Seeing you. Have a great day. Thank you for the conversation and keep moving, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.